Hey guys, Travis Gillespie here. Today we're going to talk about circles. So let's go ahead and get a circle up on the screen. And then what I want to do from here is just put a point smack dab in the middle of this circle as best as possible. We're going to say this is right smack dab in the middle. Now a circle, it's a unique geometric figure. Now this figure is in a plane, and all of the points along this edge or all of the points along this circle are the same distance away from this central point. And that's what a circle basically is. And it's a perfect symmetrical shape. Therefore, this point in the middle, we call it the center, or the center of the circle. Alright, so I'm going to change pens real quick and change pen colors, and let's just draw a line from the center of the circle out to the edge of the circle. In fact, I could do this again. And then what I could do is make multiple lines that run from the center of the circle and run out to the edge. They touch the edge of the circle. Now what we can see with each of these lines is that each endpoint is touching the edge of the circle and touching the center of the circle. Since each point along the edge of the circle is the same distance away from the center of the circle, that means that each line segment here has to be the same length. Now we call these lines that run from the center of the circle out to the edge, or vice versa, from the edge of the circle to the center of the circle, we call each of them radius. So let's go ahead and write that down. R-A-D-I-U-S. Now radius, it's singular. It's only talking about one line segment that runs from the edge of the circle to the center of the circle. But on the screen I have 1, 2, 3 line segments that are the same length. So what if I wanted to talk about more than one radius? Well, I'd have to use the plural, which is radii. R-A-D-I-I. So radii is talking about more than one line segment that runs from the edge of the circle to the center of the circle. Now your knowledge about the radius or radii within a circle, it's really important, and it's going to come in handy later on. But we're going to move forward from here. I'm going to change pens and colors again. And let's go back to this line segment here, this radius. And let's pretend that, well, when you drew the line, you started at the edge of the circle, moved towards the center, but you didn't stop. You continued on. So now we're going to pretend that this orange line and this blue line to the left are one line continued on. It's one straight line. So it starts at one edge, it's a straight line that passes through the center of the circle, and it stops at another edge. So it has two endpoints. The endpoint is at one edge and the other endpoint's at the other edge, and the straight line passes through the center. We have a name for this line, and that's called diameter. I'm going to draw a couple more in just a second, but I just want to write that word down real quick. So we have diameter written down. So diameter just says, hey, we have a line, it's a straight line, it passes through the center of the circle, and it touches the edges of the circle at two different points. So let's go ahead and draw another one real quick. So here's another diameter. We could draw another one here. Okay, so what you're starting to see here is that you're not just drawing one diameter, you can draw multiple diameters within this circle. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about that first diameter real quick. I had a blue line segment, and then continuing from that blue line segment, I had an orange line segment. And we pretended this is one straight line. The line started at one edge, passed straight through the center, and then stopped at the other edge. Well, let's just take a look at the blue line segment real quick. When I first drew this blue line segment, I said it was the radius. It started at one edge and stopped at the center. Well, let's take a look at the orange line segment real quick. It's doing the same thing. It's starting at one edge and then stopping at the center. Well, we know this orange line segment must be a radius because all radii are the same length. They're doing the same thing. They start at the edge of the circle and then they stop at the center, or they start at the center and then stop at the edge of the circle. So if this blue line segment and this orange line segment are both radii and both line segments are the same length, then the diameter must be twice as large as the radius. So if I'm looking at the blue line as the radius and I continue on through the center of the circle to create a diameter, well, this straight line from edge to edge has to be twice as long or twice as large as the line that starts at the edge and stops at the center, the radius. So let's go ahead and make that note real quick. I'm just going to write down that a way of thinking about this is that the diameter is twice as large as the radius, or we could just say it's double the radius. Also, the radius, it is half the size of the diameter. So let's write that down. Half of the diameter. So if I were to tell you that a radius happened to be, I don't know, let's say 2 centimeters, then that means the diameter has to be double the radius. So it would be 4 centimeters. Also the reverse, if I were to tell you that the diameter is 10 inches, so let's pretend that the diameter in another circle is 10 inches, then the radius would be half of 10, so it would have to be 5 inches. Alright, now don't worry about these values right now. They're not as important as the actual concept, so let's just go back over to that circle. A circle, it's a unique figure in the plane where all of the points along this edge of the circle are the same distance from the center of the circle. So therefore, if we were to actually draw a line from the edge of the circle to the center of the circle, well, that line would represent the radius. If you had more than one of those lines, you would have radii. It's plural. And the length of the radius is half the size of something we talk about called the diameter. So the diameter, it's a straight line. It starts at one edge of the circle, passes straight through the center, and stops at the other edge of the circle. The diameter is double the size of the radius. Alright, we're going to change pens and colors and talk about two more important segments. So this time let's pretend that your line starts at one edge of a circle and touches another edge of the circle. Notice how this segment does not touch the center of the circle. Therefore, it can't be a radius because the radius touches the center of the circle. This segment cannot be a diameter because the diameter passes through the center of the circle. So when you have segments, they travel from point to point, or they have endpoints along the edge of the circle, but the segment does not touch the center of the circle. We call these chords. And there are multiple chords that can be drawn within a circle. So let's write that word down, chord. And finally, for our last one, I just want to change pens and colors again. This last line will not be inside of the circle, however, it will be within the same plane. So here we have a straight line. It's just touching the edge or the curve of this circle. It's just passing through or intersecting at one given point along this circle's edge. So we call this line a tangent. Let's go ahead and write that down here, tangent. Cool stuff, guys. I'll see you in another video.